Rhea Vardhan and Mira Vardhan stepped into what they believed was the chance of a lifetime and exclusive invitation from a millionaire that promised luxury, connections, and a night they would never forget. But the moment their names appeared on that mysterious gold envelope, their fate was sealed by a hidden network far more dangerous than anything they imagined. As the sisters vanished into the isolated hills, every clue unraveled into a darker truth: fake identities, abandoned mansions, and a trap designed with terrifying precision. Their final steps were captured only by shadows, leaving investigators chasing a ghostly trail controlled by ruthless masterminds. What really happened to Rhea and Mira? Why were they chosen? Rhea Vardhan always believed that life changed slowly, step by step, through years of steady work. She spent her days balancing 2 jobs in Pune, saving every rupee she could, determined to build a future free from struggle. Her younger sister Mira saw life differently. She loved surprises, believed in chances, and always hoped that something extraordinary would appear out of nowhere. Neither of them imagined that the extraordinary thing they were waiting for would come wrapped in gold, delivered to their front door. Carrying the weight of a deadly trap they could never foresee, it arrived on a bright Tuesday morning. Placed neatly on the floor outside their apartment, a single envelope, heavy, expensive, glowing under the sunlight, as if it carried a secret meant only for them. Rhea picked it up with cautious hands, confused by the unfamiliar crest embossed on the seal. Mira felt a rush of excitement the moment she saw the shimmering surface. The envelope looked like it belonged to a royal event. Not two sisters living in a quiet, middle-class neighborhood. Inside, a thick card announced an invitation to an exclusive celebration hosted by Arvind Solkar, a millionaire whose wealth was often discussed in newspapers, but whose private life remained hidden from the world. The invitation listed the date, the dress code, the luxury venue, and a promise of unforgettable opportunities reserved for hand-selected guests. Their names were printed with precise detail, making it impossible to dismiss as a random mistake. Mira could not control her excitement. For her, this invitation felt like destiny opening a door she had been waiting for. Rhea was more skeptical, but she felt an unusual pull, as if someone had crafted the moment to appear both exciting and safe. Everything about the card seemed professional: no typos, no vague promises, no signs of a scam. Whoever created it knew exactly how to catch attention without raising suspicion. What intrigued them even more was the luxury transportation offered to all invitees. A car would arrive at their doorstep to take them to the mansion located deep in the hills outside the city. The instructions emphasized privacy and security, claiming the event hosted high-profile individuals who preferred discreet arrivals. The idea of entering a world normally closed to people like them stirred something inside both sisters' curiosity, hope, and a thrill too strong to ignore. As the day approached, Mira planned her outfit with excitement, imagining the lights, the music, the people. She believed this night could change their lives, maybe even connect them with someone influential. Rhea told herself she was going only to ensure Mira's safety. Yet deep inside, she also felt a secret desire to step briefly into a life she had only seen from afar. The invitation made them feel chosen, special, pulled into something bigger than their ordinary routines. The morning of the event felt strangely calm. The city moved as usual, unaware that the sisters were preparing to walk into a deadly design. Mira took photos of her outfit, hoping to keep a memory of the night ahead, while Rhea double-checked the invitation card, searching for anything that felt off. But every detail looked perfect to question. It felt like an opportunity crafted by fate itself. When the evening finally came, a black luxury car rolled to a stop outside their building, just as promised. The driver stepped out with a polished formality, adding to the illusion of safety and legitimacy. The sisters exchanged a glance filled with anticipation and stepped into the back seat, unaware that their decisions sealed the final chapter of their innocent lives. As the city faded behind them, the car took the winding roads toward the hills. Neither Rhea nor Mira realized that the journey was not leading them to celebration, but to their execution. The invitation that had filled their hearts with joy was never meant to welcome them, was designed to eliminate them. And as the car climbed higher into the silent, isolated landscape, the trap prepared for them was already waiting, hidden behind beauty, luxury, and the promise of a night that would never come. The car carried Rhea and Mira Vardhan farther from the familiar lights of Pune, replacing city noise with an unsettling silence. The road twisted upward into the hills, where houses grew scarce, and the sky darkened despite the early evening. Mira pressed her face against the window, watching the world blur into a mix of trees, broken streetlights, and long stretches of empty road. Rhea sat straighter, her instincts sharpening with every passing minute. The invitation had promised luxury and security, yet something about the stillness outside felt unnatural, as though the night itself was holding its breath. After almost an hour, the car slowed. Through the windshield, a massive structure began to emerge from the shadows. The mansion looked like something from a forgotten era. Tall pillars, wide steps, and glowing lanterns lined in symmetrical perfection. The exterior was polished, elegant, and intimidating. Warm golden lights made it appear welcoming, but the quiet surrounding the property felt wrong. There were no other vehicles parked outside, no sounds of people arriving, no music drifting from the hall. It was as if the entire place had been prepared exclusively for them. The car stopped near the entrance. Rhea and Mira stepped out, their heels clicking against the marble floor. Thick trees towered behind the mansion, forming a dark wall that blocked the horizon. A cold wind passed through the area, carrying no scent, no sound, nothing that suggested life. Mira tried to convince herself that this was simply how elite parties operated, private and controlled. Rhea scanned the surroundings, noticing patterns that made her uneasy. 5 guards stood at spaced intervals, dressed in identical uniforms, their postures rigid and mechanical. None of them spoke, reacted, or even glanced at the sisters. Their stillness made them seem more like statues than living people. A tall archway led to the entrance, framed by 2 stone pillars, engraved with symbols Rhea didn't recognize. Above the arch, a single light flickered irregularly, as if the electricity struggled to stay alive. The mansion looked perfect from afar, but up close, subtle imperfections became visible: scratches on the pillars, badly repainted patches on the walls, wires running awkwardly behind decorative plants. It looked like a place created quickly, designed to appear expensive without actually being lived in. A glowing scanner panel stood at the base of the entrance, the only indication of technology among the ancient-looking decor. It pulsed softly, drawing attention like a heartbeat. The instructions on the invitation had said all guests would have their names verified before entry. Mira stepped forward eagerly, convinced this was the threshold to a night of excitement. Rhea hesitated, a heaviness forming in her chest. The guards remained silent, offering no reassurance, no welcome, not even a glance. Their faces were blank, their hands still, their presence unsettling. The moment the sisters reached the scanner, the lights above them dimmed. The air grew colder. A low mechanical hum rose from somewhere beneath the ground, vibrating through the marble. Rhea looked back toward the gate they had entered through, suddenly wishing they had never come. Before she could speak, a red light flashed on the scanner, casting an eerie glow on their faces. The hum deepened. Hidden compartments along the archway slid open with a smooth, practiced motion. Steel nozzles emerged, aimed directly at the entrance. Everything happened so quickly that the sisters didn't have time to react. A rapid series of sharp clicks echoed across the courtyard, followed by an eruption of deadly projectiles firing with surgical precision. The attack was silent, efficient, and unmistakably intentional. Mira's body crumpled instantly, her eyes wide with shock. Rhea collapsed seconds later, her hand reaching out instinctively toward her sister in a final, desperate gesture that would never be completed. Their fall was swift, silent, and unseen by anyone who cared enough to intervene. The guards did not move. They did not express surprise. They did not rush forward. They simply remained in their positions, waiting for the moment to pass, as if their only purpose was to witness the outcome of a plan they were hired to execute. As soon as the sisters lay motionless on the cold marble floor, the machinery retracted. The steel nozzles disappeared, the lights steadied, and the scanner turned blue again reset for the next victims who might arrive. Nothing in the scene suggested panic. Instead, Everything operated like a system designed to eliminate without hesitation and erase without evidence. The mansion, so grand and inviting moments earlier, now looked like a silent predator retreating back into shadows, ready to strike again. The trap had sprung perfectly, and the night swallowed the truth before anyone even noticed. Two innocent sisters had been executed at the entrance of a place built entirely for deception. The disappearance of Rhea and Mira Vardhan began as a simple missing person alert. But within hours it grew into a case that puzzled even the most experienced officers. The driver assigned to bring the sisters back from the event reported that he had been instructed to wait outside their building until they called. The call never came. By dawn, neighbors noticed the sisters' door still locked from the outside, their phones unreachable, and their social media silent. What started as concern quickly escalated into panic. When the luxury car company denied any official booking under the name Arvind Solkar for that night, Inspector Kunal Rathod took charge of the case the moment it reached the Pune crime branch. Known for his sharp instincts and meticulous nature, he found the initial evidence disturbingly hollow. The invitation card the sisters received was genuine in appearance, custom printing, premium materials, perfect formatting. Yet no digital or physical trace linked it to the millionaire mentioned on the card. Every QR code, every embossed seal, every scanned element led to dead ends. It was as if someone had manufactured an identity from scratch and then erased it with equal precision. As Rathod tried to trace the route taken by the luxury car, he encountered another obstacle. The driver assigned to the sisters had been hired through an intermediary agency using temporary details. His ID, home address, and registration papers checked out at first glance. But deeper verification revealed they were counterfeit. The driver had vanished, his real identity unknown, leaving Rathod with a sinking realization. The entire transportation chain was engineered for one purpose: lured the sisters without leaving a trail. The inspector visited the mansion listed on the invitation. What he found added a new layer of mystery. The property existed, but not in any public record connected to Arvind Solkar. The building looked abandoned from a distance, yet inside, subtle signs suggested recent occupation. Footprints in the dust, faint tire marks near the gate, and a lingering smell of industrial chemicals indicated activity within the last 24 hours. But there were no workers, no guards, no staff, only an empty structure with scorched wires, scattered metal pieces, and traces of dismantled equipment. Rathod's instinct screamed that the mansion had been used as a setup, a temporary location arranged specifically for the event and evacuated immediately after. The precise nature of the operation disturbed him. Everything was too clean, too orchestrated, and far too synchronized to be the work of a single individual. Someone had invested time, resources, and expertise to create a believable illusion and then vanish without a footprint. The investigation intensified when the forensic team found unusual residue embedded in the marble near the entrance. It matched the chemical compounds used in advanced mechanical traps, often seen in high-security facilities. This discovery shattered the initial assumption of an accident. If a trap had been installed, it required planning, engineering, and a motive strong enough to justify such a brutal execution. Rathod searched for known threats against the sisters but found nothing. They were ordinary young women, living simple lives with no involvement in risky activities. Their backgrounds revealed no enemies, no financial debts, and no disputes that could justify such a violent setup. The lack of motive made their disappearance even more unsettling. It meant the sisters weren't targeted for who they were, but for something else perhaps, something they didn't even realize they were connected to. The first real break came when a hesitant, trembling voice left an anonymous message with the police. A former employee named Sarla Nandi claimed she had information about the event the sisters had been invited to. She mentioned secret gatherings, private invitations, and operations hidden behind the image of wealthy elites. Her message was brief and cryptic, but it hinted at a shadowy network operating far beyond the public eye. Sarla's fear was evident. She refused to share details over the phone, insisting she would talk only in person and only at a location she believed was safe. Rathod knew that her testimony could be the missing key to understanding why the sisters had been lured, taken, and possibly executed. but he also sensed the danger surrounding anyone connected to the so-called party. As he prepared to meet Sarla, Rethad felt the weight of an invisible enemy pressing closer. Something powerful was working behind the scenes, something capable of constructing illusions, manipulating identities, and erasing evidence faster than the police could gather it. The case was no longer a simple disappearance. It was becoming a doorway into a world of deception where ordinary people were prey, and every clue led deeper into a darkness crafted by expert hands. Sarla Nandi arrived at the police safe house trembling. Wrapped in a shawl despite the warm weather, Inspector Kunayal Rath immediately noticed how her eyes darted toward every corner, as if expecting someone to follow her even into a guarded room. Her fear alone confirmed that this case was far bigger than a misleading invitation and a rented mansion. Sarla had once worked in the inner circle of people who operated behind the name of Arvind Solkar, and what she revealed pushed the investigation into a far darker direction than anyone expected. Sarla explained that the Millionaire's name was often used as a shield by a covert network that specialized in hosting exclusive gatherings under false identities. These gatherings were never public and never officially connected to the wealthy individuals they were named after. The real organizers used the reputation of high-profile figures to attract unsuspecting victims who fit certain profiles. Rhea and Mira Vardhan were not chosen at random. They matched digital criteria collected through unnoticed online activity. Their social media habits, browsing histories, financial patterns, and even phone interactions had been quietly monitored long before the invitation reached their home. Sarla revealed that the network operated like a shadow economy. They held discreet events disguised as opportunity-filled parties. Behind the facade, the gatherings served specific purposes ranging from data harvesting and identity extraction to trafficking. Targeted individuals into specialized markets. Many invitees were chosen not for who they were, but for the potential value hidden within their digital footprints. To the network, every person carried a set of exploitable data that could be sold, erased, or used to access larger systems. What shocked Rethad most was the level of coordination. Sarla explained that abandoned mansions were frequently rented for single nights, converted into elaborate venues, and then stripped clean before sunrise. The people involved were trained, disciplined, and efficient. Their operations mimicked professional events so perfectly that victims never suspected danger until it was too late. Every staff member worked under temporary identities. Every guard was hired for one task only. Every piece of equipment was brought in and removed within hours. Nothing ever remained behind except confusion. Rhea and Mira's invitation was part of a batch, created through stolen templates from genuine luxury events. The network used advanced software to generate flawless typography, authentic textures, and scannable codes leading nowhere. They wanted the sisters to feel chosen, special, welcomed into an elite world. The goal was to disarm them emotionally before they ever stepped foot inside the trap. Param Versik, the tech expert assigned to the case, began digging into the digital clues Sarla provided. He traced fragments of the sisters' online activity to a suspicious site they had visited months earlier, Autoloan pre-approval page, disguised as a financial tool. The site operated as a data collection funnel, capturing identities, locations, and behavioral analytics. Rhea had entered minimal information and backed out quickly, but it was enough. Mira's device had stayed on the page longer, allowing the hidden scripts to extract more detailed personal data. The network harvested everything silently, building a profile that flagged the sisters as suitable targets. Param discovered that these data profiles were sorted into categories. Some individuals were marked as high value due to their financial access, others for their social connections, and a final group, like the Vardhan sisters, were identified as low-risk victims. People whose disappearance would not immediately trigger powerful backlash. The realization was chilling. The sisters were targeted because they appeared vulnerable, ordinary, and easy to erase as Rethad processed these revelations. Sarla disclosed one final detail. She had recognized the insignia on the back of the invitation. It belonged to a clandestine division within the network, responsible for clean eliminations if someone's data extraction posed a risk, or if a target accidentally stumbled upon restricted information, the division took action. The method was always the same: invite, isolate, eliminate, and vanish. Rhea and Mira were never intended to reach the party. Their attendance was simply the final step in a process that had been set in motion months earlier. They had triggered something unknowingly. The network responded with lethal efficiency. For Rathod, the truth was no longer about finding missing civilians. He now understood he was battling an organization built on secrecy, manipulation, and precision. And as he dug deeper, he realized the network was already aware that Sarla had spoken and that the investigators themselves might be the next names added to a silent, growing list of victims. Inspector Kunal Rathod knew that every step from this point forward was dangerous. The revelations from Sarla Nandi had exposed the existence of an underground network operating with surgical precision. But the truth also meant the investigators were now treading on ground controlled by people who erased evidence as easily as deleting a file. With every clue uncovered, the shadow of the organization grew darker, stretching far beyond Pune and deep into a hidden world built on exploitation. Rhea and Mira Vardhan had been caught in that world without even understanding the threat they were facing. Param Versik worked day and night to recover anything from the digital remains left behind. He finally found the breakthrough buried inside corrupted camera logs from a traffic surveillance system located near the abandoned mansion. The footage, though damaged, revealed silhouettes of individuals unloading metallic equipment from vans hours before the sisters arrived. Their movements were coordinated, their faces covered, and their uniforms identical to the guards described in Sarla's account. Even more alarming was the precision with which they dismantled everything afterward. Within 30 minutes of the attack, the entire setup vanished: guards, machinery, vehicles, every trace removed as if the event had never occurred. Rathod watched the recovered footage repeatedly, feeling a depth of dread he hadn't experienced in years of policing. These were not ordinary criminals. They moved with military discipline and technical expertise. They were trained, prepared, and protected. The location itself had been chosen for isolation, allowing the execution to happen without witnesses. It became increasingly clear that the sisters were only two among many who had fallen into similar traps. Their stories never reaching the public because the network left nothing behind. As Param continued digging, he cracked an encrypted folder hidden inside the corrupted data logs. Inside was an insignia sharp, geometric, and marked with 3 interwoven lines. Sarla confirmed this symbol belonged to the network's elimination wing, a faction that ensured unwanted individuals disappeared without raising suspicion. The insignia also appeared on the forged invitation sent to Rhea and Mira, proving their deaths were not an accident or a spontaneous act, but a calculated elimination. The next discovery came from an unexpected place. Sarla identified one of the vehicles in the footage by its unique modification. The van belonged to a shell company used repeatedly across different states, registered under rotating identities. Param traced past sightings of the same vehicle, 2 locations linked with missing person reports. The pattern emerged with chilling clarity. Each disappearance followed the same method: exclusive invitation. Private transport, isolated venue, clean execution, rapid evacuation. Only the names of the victims changed. Rathod pulled every file connected to these cases. He found quiet patterns buried under bureaucracy, families who had lost loved ones but never received answers. Towns where rumors spread but were dismissed. Investigations that abruptly halted after evidence went missing. The network had been operating for years, maybe decades, hidden behind layers of forged documents, paid-off insiders, and shifting identities. Their efficiency made them almost invisible. But the most shocking revelation came when Param deciphered fragments of an internal message found in the encrypted files. It referenced Rhea and Mira specifically, labeling them as Category L targets with flagged access exposure. This meant the sisters had unknowingly stumbled upon restricted data while visiting that deceptive financial website. It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't a random selection. It was retaliation. The message ended with a chilling line: neutralized as scheduled. No deviation. Rathod felt the weight of those words settle over him like a stone. The sisters had been executed not because of who they were, but because of what they accidentally clicked. Their fate had been sealed months before they entered the black luxury car. They were victims of a system so vast that even their screams were swallowed by silence before they could begin. By the time Rath had assembled the case file, several members of the network's outer circle had been arrested. But the core operators, the architects of the trap, vanished without a trace. The shell companies dissolved. The communication channels went offline. The insignia disappeared from the digital map, as if it had never existed. The case remained open, but the truth was bitter. Rhea and Mira's story ended the night they stepped into the hills. Yet the network responsible continued to move quietly in the background, watching, selecting, preparing. And somewhere, perhaps even as Rath had closed the file for the day, another gold-embossed envelope was already being printed, waiting to arrive at another doorstep, inviting someone else into a night from which they would never return.